Councilmember Mario Buchanan Jr.,
Present.
Councilmember Africa Luna Carrasco,
Present.
Councilmember Jose Ponce,
Present.
Councilmember Matias Rosales,
Present.
Councilmember Gloria Torres,
Present.
Vice Mayor Maria Cecilia Cruz,
Present.
Mayor Gerardo Sanchez.
Present.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. We're going to go ahead and we're going to go through the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilmember Ponce, could you lead us through the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Ponce. We're going to go with the invocation.
Okay, let us pray. Loving Heavenly Father, we come to you this hour asking for your blessing and help as we are gathered together. We pray for guidance in this matter at hand and ask that you would clearly show us how to conduct our work with a spirit of joy and enthusiasm. Give us the desire to find ways to excel in our work. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you, Lieutenant. We're going to go ahead and go with our presentation by Mr. Luis Ramirez from Ramirez International Advisors. Please.
Mr. Mayor, good evening, and members of council, and members of the administration. Thank you so much for giving us these few minutes to chat with you. We have a brief presentation that I'll go through in a very quick time, as I'm more looking forward to a dialogue and discussion with all of you. I hope you can all hear me okay. And we have a presentation. If we can just go to the next slide. I don't know if it's Sonia or whoever is handling it.
Hi, Luis. Actually, I'm going to give you access to the presentation, so you'll have control over the screen.
Okay.
Let's see if you have control now.
So you give me so I can open up my screen.
Luis, you should have access to my screen, and now you can manipulate the presentation.
I actually don't see the presentation.
Okay, I have my IT department here helping me, so give me 1 second.
Sure.
Luis, did you get the message that now you are the presenter? You should have access.
Presenter. Okay. It's not letting me share my screen though. And I don't see the presentation on the screen either. I don't know if you do.
Yes, I can see it here at my end.
Unfortunately, I cannot.
Sonia, can you show the slide for him, please?
Yes, I will. Thank you. Okay, Luis, then I'll just go to the next
I
slide.
apologize for that, Sonia.
I'm sorry?
I apologize for that. I don't know what's happening, but
No problem. Okay, so I'll just go to the next slide.
yes, if you don't mind, thank you. I don't know if we can make it a little bit bigger, whatever is appropriate. But Mayor, members of council, what I wanted to do is just to give you a quick update of not only just of our activities, but kind of lay out the scenario, the situation that we're dealing with. And you're living it on the border. So I'm not sure how much detail I need to provide because you're seeing this and living it on a daily basis. But I just thought I'd put some certain things into perspective. I think the situation with COVID-19 in Sonora and Mexico is always a question. There's been a lot of reporting that the numbers on the US side of the border are by far worse than on the Mexican side of the border. Yet when we started digging deeper into the numbers, I think the story is a little bit different. For instance, the information you have before you on the left side in the blue and purples, that information is less than 24 hours old. That is the numbers that are being reported in the state of Sonora with 15,600 cases, which is about 1/10 or less of the numbers on the state of Arizona. But if you can scroll down just a little bit, Sonia, to see the bottom of that one slide, what we're seeing is that in Sonora, the total testing they have done since the start of the COVID-19 crisis is 23,000. That's approximately the same number of tests that the state of Arizona conducts on a daily basis. Actually, there were complaints that the state of Arizona about 5-6 days ago only conducted 15,000 tests in one day. And we already see that in Arizona alone, we're not testing enough. So how reliable are these numbers for Sonora, particularly? San Luis Rio Colorado is well over 1,000, 1,100 cases. But again, the information that we're receiving is that only people who are deemed to be critical, they're giving tests to confirm that it's COVID-19, not to see if they have COVID-19 so they can start all these protocols. So the situation, we believe, is actually far worse than is being actively reported. On the right side, you see a map of Mexico with orange and red. And on Monday of this week, the state of Sonora, which you can find on the map, was lowered in risk from red to orange. Yet the Secretary of Health of Sonora, the governor of Sonora, the mayor of Hermosillo, have all come out and said that, yeah, we may have the orange ranking, but we must continue to behave as if the state of Sonora is still in red. And in fact, we've talked to several people on the ground in Nogales and Hermosillo that are involved in the COVID-19 battle, shall we call it, and they're actually expecting that Sonora may return to a red condition in future days. For Mexico, we see that circle in the bottom right corner. So far, they've confirmed 344,000 cases. But again, I think what we're seeing in Sonora, once we drill down into the numbers, that the lack of testing nationally is artificially keeping these numbers down. And in fact, Undersecretary Lopez-Gatell of the Ministry of Health of Mexico has stated on multiple instances that the numbers that are being reported should probably increase by 100 or 200,000. So we're not seeing that Mexico is plateauing yet. In fact, we're seeing the numbers grow. The situation is getting very dire in certain communities, particularly in Sonora, where Hermosillo, Ciudad Obregón, certainly the smaller cities of Nogales, Caborca, Puerto Peñasco for sure, their beds at the hospitals for intensive care and others are simply overwhelmed. They're maxed out. And so they're facing a very difficult situation. So I just thought I'd present this because the initial hotbed for COVID in Sonora was actually San Luis Rio Colorado. We're still not confident enough testing is being done in San Luis Rio Colorado, but unfortunately, Hermosillo, Ciudad Obregón, or Cajeme, and Nogales have overtaken San Luis Rio Colorado, but again, we're not confident that enough testing is being done for COVID-19. If we scroll down to the next slide, please, Sonia. One of the things, is that the next one, or did we skip one?
That's the third slide.
Third slide, thank you. The other thing is, in changing to more positive news, The USMCA, United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, went into effect on July 1st. This is something that the city and pretty much every significant player in the region has supported. And I think it's significant to say that, you know, with a market of almost 500 million people and a combined GDP of over $26 trillion, you know, North America is poised for tremendous growth. The USMCA has 10 new chapters over what NAFTA originally had, so from 24 to 34 chapters. And as you see in the middle graphic there, opportunities for the 21st century economy, that highlights 3 specific areas where a lot of opportunities are expected. Intellectual property, digital commerce, and financial services. And all those are not necessarily for large companies, but they can also be for very small, medium-sized companies. So we're very excited about the opportunities that the USMCA will bring. In particular, San Luis, Rio Colorado, and San Luis, Arizona, I think are tremendously well-positioned to attract new investment. As I've reported in previous discussions, the promise of USMCA, the favor that companies that operate in these 3 countries, the favorable treatment that these 3 countries afford for companies, is really setting a new benchmark. And even not only US companies that are currently manufacturing in China are considering bringing some of that, or if not all of it, back to North America, but even Chinese companies are looking at, if I want to be competitive in selling into the North American market, maybe I should also be manufacturing in North America. And we believe the Arizona-Mexico border, communities like San Luis Rio Colorado and San Luis, offer a tremendous opportunity. This is the time where we start touting that San Luis 2 and the San Luis port of entry, you know, trucks are waiting maybe 20 minutes to cross the border in a very predictable fashion. Unified cargo processing continues to operate in the San Luis Rio Colorado port of entry. You know, companies that are looking for easy and predictable access to the Western United States can certainly look at San Luis Rio Colorado as a place to do their business or make the long-term investments. And we'll get into some of the numbers in a little bit more. Next slide, please. Unfortunate, one of the images is not showing there. The essential travel restrictions that you have certainly felt the impacts if you haven't dealt with it yourself by crossing the border. The travel restrictions in the slide, the image that is missing indicates that on March 21st of this year, the U.S. and Mexico in one agreement and the U.S. and Canada in a separate agreement, but fully coordinated, have implemented travel restrictions so that only essential travel is being permitted across the border. The image there by Director of Field Operations at a Tucson, Lupe Ramirez, confirmed that those restrictions have been extended until August 20th. And it would not be a surprise unless we see a substantial drop, at a minimum, a plateau of the numbers in COVID-19. We would expect that the border crossing restrictions to essential crossings would continue through September, if not beyond. And even then, there's been discussions, do you simply remove the restrictions when things get better, or do you have a gradual opening back up of crossings across the border? This was severely felt, certainly as of March 21st, where the restrictions went into place, but definitely April was the worst month, and we'll see some of the numbers in a little bit. And we're starting to see a recovery and the available numbers through May. And of course, in June, we're hoping to see certainly a plateau, if not a slight trend upwards in the recovery of border crossing volumes. And I know you see the lines at the border, but this is a message that we take whenever there's an opportunity. In May, you saw the wait times easily exceeding, for all intents and purposes, that's 8 hours. We're now dealing with wait times as of this morning of 45 minutes to an hour, sometimes increasing over 75 minutes. And during peak hours, we've seen it even higher. But it's certainly, we're not where we were a month and a half, 2 months ago, late April and May, where the waits were continuously well over 4 hours in San Luis, and it unfortunately wore the mantle of being the worst wait times border-wide. Well, that was the situation. We're now taking that information and our messaging to our federal agencies, to our congressional delegation, to the governor, saying this is why the investment in San Luis and San Luis One is so important. There is no way that a border community can continue to be viable if you're looking at 6-8 hour waits on a regular day. never mind the holidays and, the puentes and all that kind of situation, those times were simply unacceptable. If we could go to the next slide, please, Sonia. So what did the border restrictions, what did all that mean and the COVID situation? And here there's a lot of numbers, and I'm not expecting anybody to see it. The presentation will be made available to all of you if it hasn't been already. But we wanted to highlight a couple of things in here. January, February numbers were fantastic. And in fact, San Luis was gonna set new records. We were so excited. We were seeing 40% growth month over month in San Luis. Then in March, with the restrictions kicking in on COVID, of course, that trend was, brought to a halt on March 21st, and we saw a dramatic drop in those crossings, both for people and trucks in April and June. But when the trend was so positive for San Luis that for the first 5 months, January through May, when you look at all the ports of entry, Douglas through Sasabe, the only port that continues to have a positive growth, it's significant positive growth in trucks, is San Luis. There's a small increase in Lukeville, although the percentage is very high, it's only 48 additional trucks. Yes, when you cross 30, 40 more trucks at Lukeville, it makes it look like this incredible growth. But the reality is, when you're looking at almost 2,000 trucks more in growth in San Luis, that's what we consider substantial growth. We remain excited to see that San Luis has an 11.3% growth in truck traffic, although people volumes are down by 24%. It's not as bad as some of the other communities in terms of border crossings. So is it good news? It's not, but it's certainly not as bad news as other communities are dealing with. San Luis continues to be an anomaly in how many people continuously cross the border and frequent travelers. And even under the border restrictions, we're seeing tremendous interest of people across the border at San Luis. I had calls from GSA and CBP going, what's going on in San Luis? Why are the wait times in May and even early June, why are the wait times so high? When we look border wide, it was like multiples of 2 or 3 over anything else border wide. It really was an anomaly to see the continued movement of people across the border in San Luis. There was tremendous fears that would have an impact on the spreading of COVID-19. There were some situations, we've confirmed the reports, that some officers, CBP officers, did contract the disease, but it hasn't been as bad as people were expecting, with the huge lines, huge numbers of people continuously crossing in San Luis. This to say, we remain hopeful that once we get the situation more under control, when we're looking potentially at October, at the soonest that we could see these numbers really reverse is September, should the border restrictions be eliminated. But we remain very optimistic that the situation in San Luis will continue to be positive and actually lead the state in continued growth. Next slide, please. So where are we with the port of entry? That's the main issue that I wanted to bring you up to speed on today. You already know that in the fiscal year 2020 budget in December of last year, we secured $152.4 million. Mayor, members of council, the city of San Luis was one of the primary, if not the primary entity advocating to secure that funding. It took several years. And I do want to remind you that the total cost of the project was $248 million. So we only received a partial funding, $152 million. Why are we only at, and I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit, we still need about $90 million for the full build out. I put that first bullet under the amount because this was the first port of entry project that has a 10% allowance on the budget without having to go back to Congress. So approximately another $15 million are at the discretion of GSA to spend on the project. So in reality, we have the ability to spend up to $167 million for the phase 1 of the port of entry. That's why we're not going after the full $96 million. We're seeing approximately $90 million, as we will see in the next slides. Another significant achievement for the project was that the first diplomatic note sent by the Mexican government under the administration of López Obrador was on San Luis, where Mexico confirmed the Archibald Morelos, or what I'll call the Western option for southbound traffic, was completed. It 18 months of the administration, almost 2 full years, that had not been accomplished. It was a big win for the San Luis project. GSA, and actually the last time they had a meeting in San Luis, which if I remember correctly was January, February, timeframes are a little blurry. But when they presented the findings of the first draft of the environmental impact study, they were not considering the the relocation of southbound vehicular traffic. And it was actually through the input of the community during that meeting and follow-up letters that were sent by City Administrator Tadeo de la Hoya that pushed GSA to include the southbound relocation, to include Archibald Morelos, and that's why we've had additional meetings and now a revised version of the environmental impact study, which we'll discuss in a little bit. So as you will see in the bottom of that slide, we're seeking $90 million in the fiscal year 2021 to pay for the full build-out, potentially as a single package, which actually offers cost savings for the federal government to do the project all at once versus 2 individual projects. Next slide, please. So this is, as a result, if you scroll down just a little bit more, Sonia, we can see if we can get the 2 images completed together. Perfect. So the environmental impact study revised actually has alternative 2. The original one that was considered was alternative 1, which still showed the cars doing that S-turn to get to the point of crossing into Mexico, which continued to have pedestrians crossing through multiple lanes of cars in order to proceed southbound. It continues to divide. If you look at the setup of the offices, southbound lanes actually divided the CBP offices from one on the west side, some on the east side, another. The inclusion of alternative 2, which has now come out to be the preferred alternative, the recommended alternative of the environmental impact study, has the Archibald designation for southbound going straight through to the border connecting at Morelos. And then it offers a number of advantages for CBP, in which they now see it as a single campus for all their operations, rather than having officers having to cross through lanes of cars in order to get to an administrative office or for additional documentation that would be required, processing a car, an individual. This is a far cleaner setup of operations for CBP over the previous design. So they have a vested interest in this proposal that we put forward as a community, and it's now become the preferred alternative. If we slide down to the next slide, please, Sonia. The question then remained, what happens on the Mexican side? And this is a very busy diagram. If you can imagine the border being that black line towards the top, and you'll see a number of colored arrows, green, red, yellow, and blue. And I'll walk through them very quickly. Green is the vehicular lanes, and that is the Morelos Avenue. So you would see Archibald connecting directly into Morelos on the Mexican side. And you would see vehicles, if they're processed or if they have the green light, they proceed straight through without stopping for any inspection. There would be a vehicular underpass under Highway 2. Therefore, cars would not be allowed to turn eastward on Highway 2. And staying with cars, one of the things, I know it's hard to see, but if you see towards the top of the diagram, there's a circle around the C, Carril Centri. We're now proposing that San Luis be the first port of entry to have a vehicular, meaning a non-commercial, dedicated Centri lane for southbound traffic. So the lane C, which is the westernmost lane, if you're a Centri, you would be able to go in a dedicated lane from the US side through the border and exit without really ever stopping and only being checked through technology, very much like it happens with Centri lanes. They would be processed way faster than what is currently being done. That is a proposal that has to be presented and considered by the US side. So a long way to go, but we may be the first to actually push that formal discussion between the two governments on that. For the red arrows for vehicles that are declaring something, so they would turn eastward, they get processed and go out onto Calle Primera. Yellow is for buses, although bus traffic in San Luis remains pretty small, we need to be prepared for it. And then you would see the blue line is for pedestrian traffic, which is now being processed and crossing the border. There would be a pedestrian underpass under Highway 2, but it also creates far more separation over the bulk of the car traffic to pedestrian traffic. It's much safer situation. It even lends itself for San Luis Rio Colorado to have much more of a retail environment around the pedestrian crossing, much more of a destination. We see it as a win-win. The challenge that we have now is the marriage of the Mexican design with the US design. What is significant, and it happened actually last week, very much with the urgence of the municipality, San Luis Rio Colorado, the Sonora Department of Infrastructure and Urban Development, or SIDUR, along with the city and Arizona Department of Transportation, is this concept in much more detail and breakdown was presented to the Mexican federal agencies, 6 agencies present in what they call an intersecretarial meeting hosted by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and all 6 agencies, which included Aduanas, included Immigration, included the Federal Department of Transportation, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, INDAVIN, and others, gave their unanimous approval for this concept. So what we're now asking is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Mexico to coordinate a binational meeting so that they can marry traffic flows and the realignment of southbound traffic, realignment of pedestrian traffic, and also the northbound traffic, which, by the way, I should have mentioned in the previous slide, we're going to go from essentially 7 functional lanes to potentially upwards of 16 lanes for northbound traffic. Huge improvements. Our hope continues to be securing the full funding to go into the full build out of the project. If we go to the next slide, please, Sonia. And this is where the good news is starting. If you scroll up a little bit more, it'd be great, please, Sonia. If we, oh, a little bit too far, yeah. I don't know if you can scroll up a little bit. We had, we confirmed that the Financial Services and General Government Subcommittee in the House Appropriations of the U.S. House of Representatives, very long titles, adopted a proposed bill to fund up to $2.8 billion to fund upwards of 16, 17 port of entry projects. We wanted to make sure that San Luis 1, phase 2, or the full build out was considered. Mayor Sanchez sent the letter on July 16th to the entire congressional delegation. Thank you, Mayor and the staff, and Ms. Lara, thank you for sending out all the emails. Greatly appreciate that. And almost immediately, we had the response from Congresswoman Kirkpatrick, and there's a quote there that I think is perhaps the most significant in her response, which states, and I'll read it for the record. It says, given that San Luis Port of Entry is at the top of GSA and CBP's priority list, I am confident we'll be able to secure the additional $90 million necessary to complete the project, regardless of whether the full $2.8 billion is included in the final spending bill or not. Congresswoman Ken Kirkpatrick, July 17, 2020. We are hearing very positive messages as well from our federal partners, GSA and CBP. Again, we don't want to jinx it. There's still a long road to travel before this additional funding is confirmed. And Mayor and Vice Mayor and members of council, we will be reaching out to you to make phone calls, to send letters, to ensure that this money stays in whatever final spending bill is. If that happens, GSA has already indicated that they would be willing to look at the entire package and therefore substantial fund savings in the cost of the project. And we would get the full build out probably 2 years faster than if it's done in separate phases. We'll go to the next slide, please. So the next steps. One major announcement that just happened earlier this week in a speech given by President López Obrador. The president has indicated that the Mexican military, or the Defense Department, and the Mexican Navy are now in charge of ports of entry. It was a mandate that no one was prepared for. In fact, the Secretary of Communications and Transportation, I even offered to resign over the situation. Reports are that he was prepared to present his resignation because he doesn't feel that the military and or Navy are prepared to take over the operations of the ports of entry. It's a finer detail. It is trade. It is immigration issues. To simply say the military is now in charge, we're going to be monitoring the situation to see what next steps we have to do in advancing the project. We continue to work with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, or SRE, in advancing the binational meeting, again, to mirror the traffic flows and designs on both sides of the border. We continued, and one of the main questions remains, now that we have the approval of the Mexican federal agencies, is there's funding that needs to be confirmed to pay for the improvements on the Mexican side. We have very positive messaging from Mexican Customs that the money is available at least for the improvement of the inspection facilities. We still need to verify the funding, of course, for the underpasses Highway 2, but that is going to be us supporting the efforts of both the municipality and the state of Sonora in helping to secure the additional money. And of course, we will continue our efforts with the congressional delegation to secure the $90 million to get the full build out for San Luis. It is money that is urgently needed for the full build out, so we don't go back to those 4, 6, 8 hour wait times at San Luis once the economy is up and running. And the final thing that I want to close out with is that earlier this morning, we sent out the San Luis newsletter, the Luis on the Border San Luis newsletter. And even as of we started this meeting, we're already at, I think it was like 320 something reads of the newsletter. And again, it's not the amount, but we look at the number, the people who are reading the letters, and we have people from the congressional offices, Office of the Governor, ADOT, Federal Highways Administration, GSA, and CBP. They're reading these new newsletters, and they're seeing the advancements that are being made on behalf of San Luis, on behalf of San Luis One, and keeping San Luis and our projects top of mind. So with that, Mayor, I'll turn it over to you and see if there's any questions or whatever discussion, dialogue we can have with you and members of council. And I thank you for your attention.
Luis, first and foremost, gracias, and thank you for, it was a very thorough presentation, and you hit the points, and very important points. Yes, we're going through a pandemic, and yes, we've been, I mean, the whole nation is basically almost at a standstill, but yet things need to move on. The port of entry, we have worked so hard as a community, as a team with you, Luis, and things need to get done. We're not finished yet, and it's very important we continue the work, we continue the same efforts or even more. It's a lot of busy work. Once this pandemic is over, I can tell you right now, there's going to be a lot of traveling to DC, San Francisco, Mexico
Everybody
City.
keep your passports current, please.
Exactly. And it's something that needs to continue doing. We need to continue this. The momentum, we can't stop the continuing. And by you giving out that newsletter, I mean, I read it when it first came out, and I'm impressed, Luis. Gracias, and thank you, because we need to keep this project viable. All the efforts, it's so easy to forget what we've done, but yet this just reinforces the importance. We are suffering, I mean, with close to 70%, according to the governor's office, or you just mentioned it, 24% less pedestrians are crossing. That's huge. That's huge for San Luis. We've been very fortunate that the city of San Luis has run our budgets. We've been running lean since 2008, 2009. And it's something that a trend that we continue doing. We don't overspend, but yet we do feel, we see the businesses closing on Main Street. It's just not good when you see 4, 5, 6 businesses that closed, or that's not good for the economy. That's not good for San Luis and Yuma County as a whole. But this is positive. This is things we need to do, and we're going to continue doing. And I thank you, Luis, and your staff, our staff, Tadeo, and everyone, City Council. Gracias. Thank you for the continued support, and for those who travel and actually it's a little tiring, but it's all worth it. And I just can't wait till we start construction. So Luis, sinceramente, muchísimas gracias for everything you do.
Thank you, sir. And I should mention that great kudos also to Martin and Corinne from my team, who are both on the line, so they're prepared to answer any questions you might have. It is a team effort to put those newsletters together. And, you know, it's people to see it in their email, in their inbox, and they read it. It's days in putting that information together. It is, we try to make it look as professional as possible, because we know the people who are going to be reading it. So it's important for one to be accurate, Secondly, to be concise and making sure that we convey the appropriate message on your behalf.
No, thank you, Luis, and I really appreciate you and your team. Corinne and Martin, gracias, de veras. And I can always see your names in the back of the emails and everything. They're there. So.
They're always there.
Okay, bueno, gracias. I'm gonna open up for questions and discussion to each council member.
Sure.
Okay, we're gonna go with, a ver, ¿quién es el primero? Okay, on my screen. Mario, any questions, concerns?
Yeah, thank you, Luis. Very good information. Very good, very easy to understand what you're explaining. Thank you very much, and your team. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the feedback.
Vice Mayor, questions, concerns?
Yes, Mayor. Thank you, Luis. That was an amazing presentation. And the last part of it was so exciting that, you know, if we can continue to work for the additional $90 million for fiscal year 2021 and get it approved, that's going to be amazing. And we'll get our team on this side working together again and continue the progress.
Vice Mayor, thank you so much. And I guess I should add that just on the 152 million alone, and, you know, God willing, you know, lighting the candles to Virgen de Guadalupe, and we're nonstop on the situation. But let's say that $240 million do come together for the full project. That means probably in excess of 300, 400, up to 500 people involved in the construction. And these are not construction projects that are done in 2 or 3 months. They'll be there 12, 18, 24 months. When you have an influx of, you know, 300, 400, 500 people coming to San Luis for the construction, it's not just the construction and the investment itself, but it's the spillover that you will have by people looking to stay at hotels, eating at restaurants, going grocery shopping, whatever the situation might be. I think this is what people sometimes forget, is that it's not just the amount that the federal government is investing, but it's what the employees are, those workers and contractors are going to be spending in the community. So we're actually, you know, very hopeful that once the contract is awarded and construction begins probably mid next year or something like that, there will be a huge impact to the retail sales tax for San Luis. So we're very hopeful that that will happen very quickly because of everything that will mean for the community.
And that's so true, Luis, because even when they were working on that barrier on that wall, or resurfacing the wall, I call it, you would see a lot of the workers actually go to our local mom and pop restaurants, and you would see them at Walmart, you would see them at different facilities, Del Sol Market. I mean, there was an influx by them when they were here. Where the National Guard, when the National Guard was here, you could always see them at El Navigante and at different other restaurants buying lunch, and that's good for the economy.
Certainly.
Now imagine an influx of 300 plus, and this is for months, not for weeks, for months. So there's going to be an influx. So this is all good. Thank you, Liz, for commenting on that.
Yes, sir.
I just want to thank Martin and Corinne also. They're a very important part of this project. So thank you, guys.
Thank you so
Very
much.
much so.
Jose, any questions or concerns?
I just want to thank Luis. I think this is a good, big benefit for both San Luises from Mexico and our San Luis. And thank you, Luis. Thanks for it's a great job, and keep up the good work.
Councilman Ponce, thank you for those comments. And yes, it is important for Mexico. And we've received, and I won't disclose names, but we've received messages from various federal agencies that San Luis and the team that we have put together with Administrator De La Hoya, now with Marlene Lara, and with you, Mayor, and members of council, we've been the ones pushing the Mexican side to get their act together because they are so focused on an austerity program. They're focused on the Tren Maya. They're focused on a refinery. So getting the attention of municipal, federal, state, and federal Mexican government has been a real challenge for the federal agencies on the US side of the border. So what we've been able to accomplish as a team is a tremendous achievement, Mayor.
I can see that happening, Luis, and, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Luis. Thanks again, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Ponce.
Well said, Luis, and that is so true. This small little town that that couldn't, but can, we're proving it, okay? When we first started, San Luis was not on the map. And with your hard work, with your team and with council and everyone else, we're making a difference. So, gracias. And it's really, we're impacting, that was the whole idea. Thank you, Lisa. Gloria Torres, questions or concerns? You're on mute, Gloria.
Okay. A very good job to you done, Luis. Thank you for your presentation. Very good. Muy buen trabajo. Keep it up.
Councilwoman, of course, and the cochinita is coming.
Okay, I'm waiting, still waiting.
Good job, good job. Africa Luna Carrasco, questions or concerns?
Thank you, Luis, and I loved your proposals. I hope and pray that the southbound Century Lane goes through. That would be a great benefit for our residents as well as all the other proposals and everything else, the whole packet. Thank you.
Councilwoman, we're pushing the boundaries with southbound Century. It is not an easy one. We will definitely try. We think we could be the first in the U.S.-Mexico and U.S.-Canada border to have such a link. So we will definitely count on your support on that as well.
Yes, sir. Definitely making history. That's what we like to do.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
We like to be number one, Luis. Certain things, okay? Certain things. Gracias, Luis. Matías Rosales, questions or concerns?
None, Mayor. Just thank you, Luis, and we're ready for round two. So hopefully we'll be hitting the road and lobbying for the 90 million left over. Thank you.
Councilman, thank you so much. Yes, we will continue to fight.
Perfect. Luis, anyone else from staff? This is open to anyone in staff? If not, we are going ahead and thank you, Luis, Luis and your staff, Corinne, Martin, yourself. Gracias. Thank you so much. Hello, Mija. I just want to make sure that we really appreciate your hard work. And the thing is, and it just keeps the momentum going. Oh, there's Martin. I just want to say thank you for everything you do and all the emails and all the texts that you guys send. That once I see your guys' name, I was like, okay, I gotta pay attention on this one. So yeah, so it's welcome. We're an awesome team, and let's continue this momentum. Let's continue the hard work, and I really appreciate your professionalism and the way you guys do your work is just amazing. And so, especialmente a ti, Luis, gracias por todo lo que haces. I really appreciate from day one I met you. I know we had to work together. So, I'm just appreciate and let's keep up the work. Luis.
Absolutely, Mayor, and on behalf of Corinne, Martin, and myself, thank you so much for your time. I will even add that even while we were waiting to get the meeting started, Administrator De La Hoya was signing a letter that was forwarded to us. It's already been submitted to GSA as the final comments on the revised environmental impact study. So we're waiting. We had that signing a letter, getting it to us, having it delivered. The work never stopped. And Mr. De La Hoya, thank you so much for your continued support. And I know we gave you a very quick turnaround, but we got the signature. The letter has been submitted. It's part of the official record on EIS. And I'm sure you, Mayor, and the members of council will see that letter at the appropriate time.
Thank you, Luis, and thank you to your staff and team members. This helps.
Good job, Luis. Gracias. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Then
Thank
we will
you.
sign off. Thank you so much for your attention.
Gracias, thank you so much. Have a great evening and stay safe, please. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and, let's see here. We're gonna go ahead and go with the consent agenda. All matters are considered routine by city council and will be enacted with one motion. That discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Minutes of regular council meeting held May 27, 2020. Work session held June 3rd, 2020. Disbursements from June 27, 2020 to July 10, 2020. Total disbursement is $1,266,354.13. I will now entertain a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor. There's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those against? Motion carries. Thank you. We're going to go ahead and go with discussion items and possible action items. 6A, public hearing followed by discussion and possible action on any and all matters regarding the recommendation of liquor license applications submitted to the Arizona Department of Liquor License and Control by Kevin Arnold Krempler on behalf of Pizza Hut located at 624 North San Luis Plaza Drive, San Luis, Arizona. I will now entertain a motion to open public hearing.
So move.
Is there a
Second.
second? There's a motion, there's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those against? Motion carried. Now we're at the open, now we're open to the public. Sonia, are you gonna, yeah, Sonia?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. My office did post the application at the proposed premises for the sale of alcohol for the required number of days as required by state law. And I would like to state for the record that my office did not receive any comments in favor of or against the application. And we do have Mr. Kraber online to answer any questions that you or the rest of the council members might have. Mayor, we cannot hear you.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I just have a question real quick. Is this a change of name on the liquor license, or what's the purpose of this liquor license? I believe you already had one.
Mr. Kramer? I believe there was a name or a change in the agent. But yes, you are correct. Pizza Hut does hold a liquor license from the Arizona Department of Liquor Licenses and Control.
I'm just
Mr.
curious if
Kramer?
they're gonna expand, make it into a two-story building, you know, add other stuff to it. No, just hoping. He must be, he looks at, he's in mute. Okay. Any other questions, concerns from council? Oh, there you go. Mr. Kramer?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes, I wanted to ask, is this just a change of name on the license that we're talking about? Or are we
Well,
planning any future things for our Pizza Hut here?
No, there will not be any change in business operations. It's simply a new license application because a Series 12 is non-transferable. My client purchased 15 different Pizza Huts throughout the state, and this was one of them. And so we made the new application for Series 12, which has to go through mayor and council first. Based on your recommendation, that'll be forwarded to the Department of Liquor in Phoenix. And then upon final issuance, we'll pay our final fees to them. And then we'll have a new license issued, a Series 12, in my client's LLC.
Perfect. Well, just tell your client that we're very happy he's here in San Luis, okay? I can tell you right now. especially
Not a
my
problem.
kids. Go ahead.
We're happy to be there, believe me.
No, trust me, my kids actually enjoy it every weekend, so thank you.
Well, we hope to get the license again. We just want to add another option for our adult clients. Hey, look, to have an adult beverage while they enjoy their meal.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a must. I really appreciate it. So please, I commend to the owner that thank you for being in San Luis, and we will continue to work with them. And I'm just very grateful and thank you.
Excellent. And thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions or concerns from council? Concerns? I'm going to go ahead and ask Mario, any questions or concerns?
No, Mayor, no questions, no concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Maria Cecilia Cruz.
None, Mayor.
Thank you. Jose Ponce, questions or concerns?
No, sir. Thank you.
Gloria Torres, questions or concerns?
No, Mayor, no question.
Thank you. Africa Luna Carrasco, questions or concerns?
None, Mayor.
Thank you. Matia Rosales, questions or concerns?
None, Mayor.
Okay. This is the last call for this is open to the public or open to any for comments. If there is not, this is my last call. Okay, if not, I will now entertain a motion to close public hearing.
So move, Mayor.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor. There's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those against? Motion carries. I will now entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to recommend approval of liquor license application to the Arizona Department of Liquor License and Control for Pizza Hut as presented.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor. There's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those against? Motion
Nay.
carries. Oh, so noted. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Kramer, thank you so much. And once again, thank the owner, please.
I certainly will. Again, thank you for your time. Everybody stay safe.
You too, please.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, we're going to go ahead and go by item number 6B, discussion the possible action on all matters regarding authorization to renew the Tyler Technologies maintenance agreements for New World ERP for fiscal year 2020-2021. And I guess Derek is online.
This is Jonathan. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of council. The item I'm presenting for you today is the renewal of the maintenance and support for our New World system software. The 5-year contract we had recently expired this June 30th. So we are seeking approval for a 1-year renewal to receive, to keep receiving maintenance and support for the software.
Instead of a 5-year, you want a 1-year?
Yes, they changed their contracts, so it's now a 1-year basis.
Oh, I thought you said you were going to replace New World. Oh, just kidding.
I'm open for any questions.
So this is 1 year only. That's not feasible, unless they plan to make a lot of changes. But no, I have no problem. Okay, very good. I'm going to go ahead and open the mics and for questions. Mario, questions or concerns?
No, Mayor, no questions.
Thank you. Maria Cecilia Cruz, Vice Mayor, questions or concerns?
None, Mayor.
Thank you. Jose Ponce, questions or concerns?
No, sir. Thank you.
Gloria Torres, questions or concerns?
No, Mayor, no question.
Africa Luna Carrasco, questions or concerns?
No, Mayor.
Matia Rosales, questions or concerns?
No, Mayor.
Thank you. If not, I will now entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve renewing the maintenance and support agreement with the Tyler Technologies in the amount of $104,825.98 as presented.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor. There's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All
Aye.
those against? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Council. Thank you, IT. Okay, we're gonna go with item number 6C, discussion and possible action on all matters regarding resolution number 2136, a resolution of the Mayor City Council City of San Luis, Arizona, authorizing the submission of an application to the United States Department of Interior Bureau of Land Management to acquire federal right-of-way land for the widening of Cesar Chavez Boulevard. Jenny Torres?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. At the last work session, we kind of went through different steps that we needed in order to widen Cesar Chavez Boulevard, including the right-of-way acquisition. I apologize if I overwhelmed the council with so much information. I went back and talked to the staff, and we're planning on coming back to you and making a presentation hopefully in the next work session, and to try to slow it down and kind of take it step by step. And so some of the staff are going to help me with that. And hopefully, we'll make a request to be the only ones in the work session, so that way we have sufficient time to go over all the items. But tonight, one of the tasks was to submit an application to the Bureau of Land Management. The NEPA has been completed. There was a few revisions, and we're ready to submit the application. We had previously met with BLM already, and they understand the project. And so we're hoping that by the time the bill grant is submitted, that this application will be close to going through the process of the right-of-way acquisition. It's pretty simple. There's really no fees attached at this time. Once they start processing the application, they will advise us on the fees, but I expect that the fees are going to be minimal. With that, I don't know if you have any questions. Eulogio is here with me. He's actually the representative in the application, because what we're trying to do is try to keep one main contact for all the for the BLM and BOR applications. So we'll try to get him to be the lead, and I will be assisting him through the process. And what this resolution does is just pretty much gives us the authority, or gives Tadeo the authority to sign the application and submit it. I'd be happy to entertain any questions you might have.
First and foremost, Jenny, thank you, and for the application submission, and thank you, Mr. Eulogio Vera. I know your staff are very both of your staffs are very efficient, and I know it's a process, and and I definitely want to see the items as a single item in a work session, because there's so much information, and so it's very important that we all are on the same page and make sure that we give out the same information to the media. And this is such an important project. Just like the port of entry, the expansion of Cesar Chavez Boulevard is something that needs to happen. And it's something that we cannot ignore. Too many years have passed in the past by which the street, I mean, you can look at the street right now. We can only do so much repair work on it. But it's something that is essential, and because we are growing as a community. Once we get those 16 lanes, traffic will increase, and everything's going. A lot of traffic is going through Cesar Chavez. To correct myself, Cesar Chavez Boulevard. And thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Eulogio. That's more like a comment than a question. I really appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and open the floors. Mario Buchanan Jr., any questions or concerns?
No, Mayor, no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Maria Cecilia Cruz, questions or concerns? Vice Mayor.
No question, just a comment. I'm just so glad that this process is, we're actually seeing it move forward. It's been a long time that we've been waiting for something like this to happen and get started. So congratulations to the team that we're actually seeing the process move forward. So thank you, guys.
Jose Ponce, questions or concerns?
No, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Gloria Torres, questions or concerns? You're in mute, Gloria. Oh, there you go.
No question, Mayor.
Thank you so much, Gloria. Africa Luna Caras, questions or concerns?
No questions. Thank you guys for all your hard work and dedication.
Thank you. Matia Rosales, questions or concerns?
No, Mayor, just echo what Ms. Cruz said. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If that's no more comments or questions or concerns, I will now entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve item as presented.
Second.
Mayor, I move to approve and adopt resolution number 2136 as presented.
And
Second.
it's wearing that mask, for extended periods of time. No, very good. Thank you, Matias. There's a motion on the floor. There's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Motion carries. Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vera. Once again, Mr. Vera, welcome back. He's sitting over there. Yeah. Good job, Mr. Vera. Yep. Okay, and I guess council members, staff, let's see here. I see no updates here. We have no updates. Wait. Oh, yes, the current events. I just want to say that first and foremost, I would like to thank our community in regards to the whole COVID situation that's occurring in our nation and in Arizona and in Yuma County and in the city of San Luis. I was interviewed by Telemundo, and then I was interviewed by local Telemundo, and then I was interviewed by Telemundo from Phoenix, because they are also making note that regarding to the total positive patients, total positive people of COVID patients in our community, compared to other cities in Yuma County. The city of San Luis continues to be, we continue to see an increase, but not at such a rapid rate as the other communities. I feel for our brothers and sisters and parents and who live in Somerton or San Luis or Yuma County as a whole, and we're all in this together. And it's something I've been looking at our numbers. I've been looking at the trend. I even called the health department to verify that are we testing the same, and it appears we're testing the same. We are testing, people being tested on a daily basis, and so those numbers are correct as of right now. But if you look at those numbers, there's at least I saw that it could be a 24% increase in that number. I mean, that number could be higher, but a lot of people have decided not to test. Some people decided not to test or just self-isolate themselves. And there's some people that have this, there's a negative stigma associated with being positive for COVID, and they don't want people to know. And the thing is, this affects everyone. It doesn't matter if you're rich, you're poor, if you're young, but the matter is still there that the younger population are the ones that are infected, the vast majority, 47, 48%, between the ages of 19 and 44 are the vast majority of people getting infected. But let me re-emphasize, the vast majority of people do not need to go to the hospital. Most of you, that is a fact. But for those people who do go to the hospital, normally go very ill. And this is not over. When I made this interview, I actually was thinking a couple of minutes before then, because we've been very fortunate and we want to continue the same effort. If anything, I've asked the chief, I've asked our PD to start enforcing the wearing of the mask in regards to if we need to fine people, we will. At no point did I say that we were not going to fine, but I'm definitely saying that there's going to be strict enforcement from now on. It's very important we keep the momentum. Thank you, Council, for staying healthy. Thank you, Council, for doing your part also. But we need to continue the same momentum. We need to make sure that we take care of ourselves. We are not over this. And our numbers have been steady. I mean, and we're looking at the numbers. People have asked me, so when are you going to open City Hall? And it's based on CDC guidelines. We're going to see there has to be a downtrend for a certain period of time before we open our facilities. But there is a set plan to open the facilities in our city. But let me tell you right now, the last department or facility that will be open will be our senior center. I've already been asked about how fast can we open it. No, it's going to be our last facility will open. We want to make sure that our abuelitos and tias and papas and mamas don't get sick. The virus is still very viable, still outside. And so we need to make sure we we take care of them. And so I would like to thank our community for making this what's happening right now a reality, and for being so cautious and so being so proactive. Not only has the city been proactive, but our community has also been very proactive. And so I read the comments on social media, and there are less people now that don't believe it's a real thing. So it is a real thing, and I think all of us in this meeting right now, we know of someone who has tested positive. 2 months ago, that was not the case. But I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone in this meeting has known someone who has turned positive, and it could be someone in your home. So this is very contagious. It's still very contagious. And coming September, October, influenza is going to show up. So we're gonna have a double whammy. And yes, you can get influenza and COVID at the same time, and you don't want that combination. So when the vaccines come out for vaccinations on the influenza, I recommend each and one of you take it, our community, to actually get the influenza vaccine. And so I just want to make sure that we all stay safe and healthy. And once again, thank you, council. Thank you, staff. Thank you, fire, first responders. Thank you, wastewater. Thank you for all the departments, and for facilities, for parks and recreations. I mean, everyone, for all the work you guys done, and we're making a difference. We're seeing a trend in that curve. So once again, gracias and thank you, and be safe, everyone, please. So that was my little two cents regarding it. So I'm gonna go ahead and open the floor. Okay. Mario Buchanan, questions or concerns?
No, Mayor, no.
Thank you. Maria Cecilia Cruz, Vice Mayor, questions or concerns?
Yes, I would like to comment, Mayor, that I was invited to be one of the panelists for Arizona Latinx COVID-19 virtual town hall, and just inform them about what the city of San Luis was doing in regards to the COVID epidemic, and also shared some information of how our community members could get some COVID relief funds through Comité de Bienestar. So that information was shared. If there's anybody suffering from financial hardship because of COVID, they can reach out to Comité de Bienestar and ask for Martina. So it was an honor, Mayor. I was very honored. So yes, that was on Saturday. I mean, Sunday.
Very good, Vice Mayor, and I heard very good comments about that. So thank you. I really appreciate it, and thank you, Comité por Bienestar, for what they're doing. So, gracias. Jose, any questions or concerns?
No, sir.
Comments?
Thank you.
Very good. Gloria Torres, comments, questions, or concerns?
Mayor,
Thank you. Africa Luna Carrasco, questions, concerns, anything to report?
No, sir.
Okay. Matia Rosales, questions, concerns? Very, very good. Okay. Oh, Tadeo, questions or concerns?
Mayor, just again, and just to report, once again, the importance of the 2020 census. As of today, we are still only at 35.1% response rate. Earlier today, the planning department made an effort in participating with their promotional truck in the parade done by local educators. But this is, as we know, a decade count that will determine for the next 10 years, how our lawmakers allocate billions of dollars in federal programs, fundings for more than 100 programs, including Medicaid, infrastructure, Head Start grant. So again, just wanted to stress that and I know that I sound like a broken record on the census 2020, but it's really, really important to us, where new schools are, where new clinics, where new roads and services for families, older adults and children are needed.
thank you, Tadeo, and that is all right. 35.1% is not the number we want. So, thank you for the continuous effort. Please, thank staff for the continuous effort, and, let's hope our community, makes a note of that, because, the sensitive affects everyone. And it's gonna affect everyone next year. And so, we've been seeing this. It's on the record. It's on the record. So, no, thank you, Terry. Any more staff comments or concerns? If not, I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
Hello,
moved.
Mayor.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor. There's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those against? Motion carries. Have a good night. Stay safe, guys, por favor. Appreciate it. And thank you for your hard work. And please, please, please stay safe.